Today we're gonna talk about microeconomics and macroeconomics. Economics is broadly divided into two main branches, microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics focuses on the behavior and decisions of individual units, such as consumers, firms, and households. Macroeconomics, on the other hand, deals with the economy as a whole, studying aggregate indicators and broad economic factors. Both branches are interconnected but analyze different levels of the economy. Micro looks at the small pieces of the puzzle, while macro looks at the big picture. Understanding both is essential to grasp how markets operate and how governments can influence outcomes. They use similar tools, like supply and demand, but apply them differently. Microeconomics provides the foundation for macroeconomic models and theories. Likewise, macroeconomic trends can influence micro-level decisions. Together, they form a comprehensive framework for analyzing economic activity. Microeconomics and macroeconomics also differ in terms of real-world applications. Microeconomics is used in business strategy, consumer behavior analysis, and market design. It is essential for understanding pricing, competition, and resource management at the firm level. Managers, investors, and marketers rely heavily on microeconomic insights. Macroeconomics is applied in national budgeting, monetary policy, and international trade. It guides decisions by central banks, finance ministries, and global economic organizations. Macroeconomics helps manage recessions, inflation, and employment trends across countries. While micro helps businesses optimize decisions, macro ensures the broader economic environment is stable. Both have practical applications that affect daily life, from job prospects to loan interest rates. Together, they offer tools to address complex economic challenges from multiple angles. Data and measurement also differ in micro and macroeconomics. Microeconomists often use data from surveys, experiments, and firm-level reports. They may study how changes in price affect a single product's demand in a region. Macroeconomists rely on aggregate statistics, often from national or international agencies. This includes data on GDP, inflation, interest rates, and unemployment rates. Such data is used to create economic forecasts and design policy interventions. While micro data can be highly detailed, macro data gives a broader but less granular view. Errors or inaccuracies in macroeconomic data can have wide-reaching implications. Both types of data are essential for informed decision-making at different levels. Economists must carefully interpret and apply data to ensure reliable conclusions. Interdependence between micro and macroeconomics is unavoidable. Macroeconomic conditions influence individual behavior, and collective behavior shapes macro outcomes. For example, if interest rates rise, a macro factor, it might affect household borrowing decisions, a micro effect. Similarly, when many firms cut jobs, unemployment rises, impacting macro indicators. Aggregate demand, a macro concept, is simply the sum of individual demand across the economy. Conversely, inflation, a macro phenomenon, can alter micro-level pricing strategies. Understanding the link between the two helps economists build more accurate models and policies. Some economists argue that macroeconomics should be grounded in microeconomic foundations. This approach, called microfoundations, ensures that macro models reflect individual behavior accurately. Hence, the study of economics benefits greatly from integrating both branches. Policy implications are a major area where micro and macroeconomics diverge. Microeconomic policies often focus on improving efficiency and correcting market failures in specific sectors. This can include subsidies for renewable energy, regulation of monopolies, or minimum wage laws. They aim to improve outcomes in targeted areas without altering the entire economy. Macroeconomic policies, however, aim to stabilize or stimulate the economy at large. This includes fiscal policies like government spending and tax changes, or monetary policies like interest rate adjustments. For instance, during a recession, macro policies might include stimulus packages or lowering interest rates. Micro-level reforms may focus on improving productivity in education or healthcare. Both types of policies interact. Macroeconomic stability can improve micro-level outcomes, and vice versa. Effective economic management often requires a mix of both approaches. Both micro and macroeconomics use models and theories, but for different purposes. Microeconomic models often involve supply and demand curves for individual goods or services. They might examine a single firm's cost structure or a consumer's decision-making process. These models help predict how price changes affect quantity supplied and demanded. Macroeconomic models, on the other hand, deal with aggregates like total consumption or investment. Examples include the ISLM model, which describes equilibrium in the goods and money markets, or the ADIAS model. These models help forecast national income, inflation rates, and economic growth. Macroeconomic models are generally more complex due to the number of variables involved. Both types of models rely on assumptions, but macro often deals with more uncertainty. Despite their differences, both are essential tools in economic analysis and planning. One of the key differences between micro and macroeconomics is scale. Microeconomics deals with individual markets, such as the market for coffee, housing, or labor. It studies interactions between consumers and producers within these specific sectors. Macroeconomics, however, aggregates these individual markets to analyze national and global economies. It considers variables like GDP, national income, and total employment rather than individual output. Micro is more focused on internal logic and isolated behavior, while macro looks at system-wide outcomes. This difference in scale affects the types of questions each branch can answer. While micro explains why the price of milk rises, macro explains why the cost of living increases nationally. This macro-level perspective is essential for understanding long-term trends and crises. The distinction in scale is foundational to the study and application of economic theory. Macroeconomics, in contrast, looks at the economy from a broader perspective. It focuses on large-scale economic factors such as national income, gross domestic product, GDP, inflation, and unemployment. Macroeconomists study trends and patterns to understand how economies grow and contract. They are concerned with business cycles, fiscal and monetary policy, and international trade. Questions like what causes recessions? Or how can inflation be controlled? Fall under macroeconomics. It helps policymakers design economic policies to stabilize or stimulate the economy. Macroeconomic indicators are used to evaluate the health of an economy over time. Key goals of macroeconomic policy include full employment, stable prices, and sustained economic growth. Governments and central banks use macro principles to make decisions affecting millions. In this way, macroeconomics influences broader social and economic well-being. Microeconomics explores how individuals and firms make choices about allocating resources. It examines how prices are determined in specific markets and how they affect supply and demand. Micro also studies consumer behavior, production costs, and market structures such as monopoly, oligopoly, and perfect competition. It asks questions like, what influences a consumer's buying decision? How do firms maximize profits? Microeconomic theories help explain pricing strategies, labor markets, and consumer preferences. One key concept is utility, which measures the satisfaction a consumer gains from a good or service. Another is marginal analysis, where decisions are made based on additional, marginal, benefits and costs. Microeconomics is highly useful in business strategy, marketing, and personal finance decisions. It helps businesses optimize their resources and pricing to remain competitive. Thus, microeconomics provides detailed insights into the functioning of individual markets. In conclusion, microeconomics and macroeconomics are two complementary branches of economics. Micro deals with individual decision-making units and market mechanisms, offering a bottom-up perspective. Macroeconomics provides a top-down view, focusing on national and global economic performance. Despite their differences, they are deeply interconnected and often overlap in theory and application. Both are essential for understanding how economies function at different levels. Micro helps explain the why behind specific choices, macro answers the what of broad outcomes. Economists, businesses, and policymakers need both perspectives to make well-rounded decisions. In today's complex, globalized world, understanding both branches is more important than ever. Whether addressing inflation, unemployment, or market pricing, both fields offer critical insights. Together, they form the complete picture of economic science and its impact on society.